Hey, what's up guys? My name is Daniel. This is my channel In Stitches. Today I'm bringing you a wavy ribbed cable pattern, which is best utilized for a scarf. Daniel, why is it so good for a scarf? Dang it. It's actually a good question. I wish anybody else in the world had asked it. It's good for a scarf because ribs are naturally reversible. They look the same on the front as they do the back. There's really no accounting for the willy-nilly nature of a scarf. You want it to look good on both sides. Add a cable to that, all the more mesmerizing. In this case, we're doing a repeat pattern that's 32 rows long, and that sounds intimidating, but in reality, there's only 4 cable rows throughout those 32 rows. And what that means is you're going to be ribbing knit 2, purl 2 for 7 rows, and then you have to pay attention once in a while and do the cables. So yeah, it sounds crazy, looks amazing, but really, is it that difficult? Let's find out. Okay, first question, how many stitches do I cast on? That really depends on, well, the thickness of your wool. If you have really chunky or thick wool, cast on 40 stitches. If you have something medium weight, cast on about 72. If you have a thinner wool, say a size 5 or 6 needle, cast on 104 stitches. We're doing this whole thing in knit 2, purl 2 rib, but we're going to be cabling every so often. So you need to know how many rows you just knit in order to know when to cable. So you have to be able to count your rows. This is one handy little trick that people use. It's a little row counter. So every time you do a row, you give it a little doink, and that tells you. I personally don't like to stop knitting to do that, so I just count visually. You take either a stitch counter or a piece of yarn, really, contrasting piece of yarn. You tie it around, say, your base stitch, and then you say, how many rows have I done? Well, take your needle, go 1, 2, 3, 4. You get the point. Count your rows, and then you'll know when to cable. So there's one thing I want to show you before you get started, and that's called a slip stitch. So anytime you have an open edge, like a scarf, it's a way to make it nice and clean, the line on the side, but also just a little bit ornate. So if you go to the beginning of the instruction, I'll show you how to do it. Don't be confused. I'd already worked a number of rows. You're gonna just be starting once you understand how to do the slip stitch and get started, all right? Let's go. Okay guys, so let's do the slip stitch. Forgive the fact that I have some rows knit here. You should be starting on your first row. Now this is called slipping a stitch knitwise or slipping a stitch as if to knit. Now like the name implies, I'm going to take my right hand needle and I'm going to stick it in the first stitch as if I'm going to knit it. Instead of wrapping the yarn around and da-da-da, I am just going to slip that stitch off of the left hand needle, and now it's sitting on the right hand needle. And that's the whole deal. We then just go into the second stitch and knit it like we normally would. And we're not going to pull tight just yet. We're going to go do our purl since the first 2 knits are done. And then we can pull that guy a little tight. And then it's off to the 2 knit, 2 purl as usual. Voila. Okay, and then we can just head towards our first cable. So that's going to be 16 stitches in. So now we're going to do our first cable, and this is a cable front. We're 16 stitches in, and you've done these before. It's a 16 stitch cable. So we're going to put the first 8 onto our cable needle. We're going to slip them off. This is called slipping as if to purl, because the needle is coming in as if we're going to purl it. Don't worry too much about the terminology. Just something to put on the back burner. Okay, 8 stitches on the cable needle. And it's a cable front, so the cable needle's up front. We'll work our next 8 stitches in pattern, which means knit 2 to start. I like to pull those first couple pretty tight, just because it's got to go all the way across that span. Okay, I worked 8 stitches, and now it's time to work them off of the cable needle so it twists over. Now this is a little awkward at first, I'll admit, working them off the cable needle, but in time you'll get comfortable with it, and it'll be second nature to you. And remember, we are working in the knit 2 purl 2 still. And that's our first cable. Now, if you're a person knitting with the bulky wool or the chunky wool and you cast on only 40 stitches, the one cable is all you're doing. So for the rest of your stitches, just finish out knitting 2 and purling 2. For the people that cast on 72 stitches with a medium wool, you're gonna stick with me until we're done with the second cable, and then you'll do the same as the chunky wool people. Just finish out knit 2, purl 2, then you're good. For those people that cast on 104 stitches, you're with me till the end. This is gonna be true until the end, guys. So every time we do a cable row, 40 people just cable once. 72 people will cable twice, and so forth, okay? All right. So what I like to do is, I'll throw a little stitch marker down in case we lose our way, counting wise. It's easy to kind of pick up where we left off. Okay, so we're back to our old tricks. Six, 7, 8. So, same old song and dance. Work 8 stitches. Now once again, I'm going to work my remaining 8 stitches. we don't need this marker back here anymore. So I'm going to go ahead and scoot it up here. And we're going to do the same thing we did last time. We're going to work 16 stitches. Okay guys, we're here. We're going to do our last cable. You may be done at this point. If you're working with a bigger yarn, okay guys, we know how to do the cable now, so let's just speed through to the end of the row and catch up there. All right guys, that was cable row A. You're going to go ahead and do 7 rows of knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, which you'll do after every cable row. So when you're done with that, we'll go ahead and we'll do cable row B. Okay, cable row B. We'll slip that first stitch, and then we're going to work 24 stitches before we cable on this one. Okay, we're ready to cable. Only question here is, we figured out how many stitches in we're doing, that's 24. Now which kind of cable are we doing? And since we looked at the pattern, we know that we're doing a cable back. So I'm going to put my 8 stitches on here. I'm going to put my cable stitches to the back. Got some wrist issues, so my hands are a little shaky. You'll have to excuse me. Okay, now I'm working with the needle in the back. 8 stitches here. Okay, we know how to do all this stuff now. We're going to take these, we're going to work off the cable needle. If I can. Again, a little awkward, but you'll figure it out. Stitch is trying to escape my left-handed needle. I don't think so, suckers. Okay. And we've officially done a cable back. Okay guys, so that was the first cable on row B, and I hope you're getting the hang of this now. You should know that there's 16 stitches now between that last cable and the next one. Okay, that's my 16. I'm gonna double count. Now, for those people that cast on 104 stitches, we're at our third cable, and I've noticed there's only 16 stitches left, meaning that when we're done cabling this one, there will be no stitches left on the needle. That would alarm me if I was knitting this for my first time. I don't know why, but I just say that in case you feel alarmed by it. And for the sake of brevity, we'll speed through here just till the end of the row, and then we'll have a chat about it. Okay, that's it. End of cable row B. I think you have somewhat of an idea of the rhythm now. You're going to go on and do 7 rows of knit 2, purl 2 ribbing, and then you're going to start cable row C on your own. As long as you know how many stitches you start with before you do the cable, you guys should be fine. I know cable row D has no stitches before you start the cable, so just a heads up on that. It'll feel a little weird at first, but I think you'll be able to figure it out. So once you're done with cable row D, you're just going to go right back to A, B, C, D until your scarf is as long as you like. When you are happy with your length, go ahead and close out with 10 rows of ribbing, just like you started off with 10, just to have balance on the 2 sides. Well, I hope you're happy with yourself. It's really a beautiful scarf. If you love it, you can show me that you love it. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Yeah, I'll have some new videos out shortly. I hope you got a lot out of that and you learned a couple tricks here and there. And yeah, I'd love to see pictures. If anyone makes it, that'd be awesome. All right, have a good day, guys.